Welcome back, everyone. Pal Ponder All Weather here. I am back from vacation, but unfortunately still under the weather. In fact, my entire family got sick on the plane on the way home, but we're working through and slowly getting better. But please bear with me on this update because we got a lot to cover for you. And let's start off with the overall satellite picture and take a look at the new convection that's draped across portions of the Texas Panhandle. These are going to be moving east southeast bound. There's also another area of convection across portions of the Great Lakes into portions of Indiana and Ohio. That's also shifting eastbound as well. But then we have another subtropical storm that formed. This is Subtropical Storm Don out here in the open waters of the Atlantic. That's not going to be affecting anybody. In fact, it's going to be dissipating shortly. But we also have another hurricane out here into the open waters of the Pacific. That's actually heading westbound towards Hawaii, and that actually could bring some impacts by the time we head into, say, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday of next week. In fact, let's take a look at the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. Has Hurricane Calvin as a bona fide 105-mile-per-hour hurricane out there, moving west northwest bound at 16 miles an hour. These are going to be slowly shifting off to the west, dissipated, because it's difficult for a storm to hold together because these waters are pretty cold out here. But nonetheless, this is expected to hold together and in fact retain tropical storm criteria. Could impact the Big Island by the time we head into, say, Tuesday night time frame, and then dissipating into a tropical depression by the time we head into, say, maybe Wednesday night. But look at the convection for today. So this is your severe weather outlook for today. Those areas that are draped across portions of Illinois and Indiana this morning are going to be over portions of Ohio, back into Pennsylvania, back into upstate New York. These could be some, damaging wind producers, but nothing to be terribly too concerned about, but definitely be on some high alert as we get into the peak heating of the afternoon. There's that convection across portions of the Texas Panhandle and New Mexico. These are going to be diving east southeast bound as well. Also wind producers, but some of these could have some bigger hail, especially as you head towards the Texas Panhandle. But the heat is on. South of that front, we're going to be plenty warm across a good part of Texas again, portions of New Mexico. Arizona's just been on fire. In fact, Phoenix, this is going to be day 16 in a row, 110 plus. You're actually going to be breaking your all-time record of 18 consecutive days in a row, back all the way back from 1974. So pretty hard to put together a streak like that, but nonetheless, you seem to be able to do it with plenty of heat. Going to still be on the table, and pretty much the entire state of California is basically on fire with numerous records. In fact, 29 records potentially could unfold later on this afternoon as that ridge of high pressure just continues to dominate and expand. But if you are in the market for a weather station, I definitely recommend the Tempest from Weatherflow. It's the one I've actually had for the past 3 years. I love it, and I feel like it's the best one on the market. The cool thing about it is it only takes about 10 minutes to install. It's a complete 5-in-1 system, and once you have it installed, it's a set and forget it. You got a convenient app on your phone, and you have a desktop version, plus you can be connected to all the 45,000 plus Tempest users across the nation now. So, but I do have a discount code if you are interested. It does offer 10% off and free shipping. So I'll have it in the link in the description below, so you can easily click on it and possibly order one for yourself. But as we head into tomorrow, here's the setup, and this is the front that we talked about that's going to be moving through Oklahoma. That's going to be basically stalling. Whenever you see these blues and reds kind of change over, that's the stalling out, and it can backs up as a warm front. So it's difficult for cold fronts to get too far south, but nonetheless, it's going to be stalling across these regions, and that's where we have some of that convection that could unfold. But where you get the upslope and where we've seen a lot of that of lately, we're going to be looking at renewed heavy rain across a good part of the Northeast as we get into the afternoon time frame on Sunday. In fact, if you look at some of the precipitable water table totals, looking at 1 to 2 inches, and these are areas that have been crushed lately with a lot of heavy flooding rains And you're going to unfortunately get that same type of setup again, and it's not going to take much. You know, it only can take 1 or 2 inches of rainfall to produce flooding in these regions, because you've seen so much as of late. In fact, the latest update from the Weather Prediction Center does have another moderate risk, and what Saratoga Springs has, this is the third or fourth moderate risk that I've seen just in the last maybe 7 days. So you've just been like almost every other or every third day just be getting crushed with these systems, with another band of convection that's going to be coming through on Sunday. So definitely be on high alert again in these regions. If you live up in these regions, especially across portions of Vermont, heading into New Hampshire, the good thing is this might actually shift a little bit further off into the east and maybe impacting some areas that haven't been hit as hard, but nonetheless, you're still under the gun with very heavy convective training thunderstorms, as you've seen of late. But Sunday's the real deal, folks, if you're about the heat, because the heat is just going to be expanding and deepening, and that's where we're going to be seeing the most records potentially unfolding, with potentially 33 record high temperatures across mainly Arizona, California, back into Nevada. The all-time record high in Las Vegas is 117. National Weather Service is forecasting that. So yeah, we could be looking at some all-time record temperatures that we've never seen. And look at it maxing out at 131. That would be in Death Valley. It's very difficult for the Earth to get to 130 degrees, as we've only had that happen several times before. So if it does happen, that would be a rare event, even for Death Valley. So right now, all eyes on to see if we can actually break some of these all-time record temperatures back into portions, Las Vegas areas, those areas. So, but it's all complements of this this deepening ridge of high pressure. So anytime you see a 600 dm, high pressure like that, there's a lot of heat underneath that. And it's mainly, by the time we head into Monday, going to be draped across California, Nevada, back into Utah, into Arizona, into portions of New Mexico, but actually shifting back eastbound. So when it does that, that's going to bring the culprit back into play. So you might get a 1-day reprieve, say basically areas in Dallas on Sunday, but the temperatures shoot right back up again, with that ridge of high pressure going to be moving overhead. But with that ridge of high pressure, that puts the northern periphery and more in line across these regions with the northwest flow and the heavier rain opportunities as we get into, you're going into your Monday timeframe across Missouri, into central and southern Illinois, back into Indiana and Kentucky, and that drapes across portions of Pennsylvania. But looking at the jet stream as we transfer into Tuesday, with the ridge of high pressure continue to shift across portions, shift further off to the west, that's just going to expand. And when it does, it's going to be on the northern periphery of that boundary. And that's where there's going to be setting the stage, where these basically mesoscale convective systems are going to be draped across these regions. And then unfortunately, you get that upslope flow again. So yes, that puts the bullseye again of very heavy rain across portions of the Northeast as we head into Tuesday. That's exactly what the Weather Prediction Center has. It has these areas of convection blowing up, these mesoscale convective systems flow through the Dakotas, through Iowa, and then maybe some heavier rains really transform it again and back into Illinois, into Indiana, through Kentucky regions. You get that upslope again across portions of upstate New York, into Vermont and New Hampshire. It's almost like a set it and forget it. It's once you get locked in these patterns, sometimes it's very difficult to break. So unfortunately, a lot of these areas that have seen a lot of rain lately and a lot of heat are going to continue to see the same thing. So, but as we head into Wednesday, so that same type setup, the ridge is going to be dominating further south to the northern periphery. We're going to be seeing these convective complexes start to originate from the northwest and dive east to southeastward. So definitely be on high alert. Maybe another area of convective complexes moves through the afternoon, moves through the later evening time frame back into your Wednesday. So if you do the breakdown for the next 5 days, you can see where the ridge is, right? Where you see the white, that's basically where the ridge is. There's a lot of sinking air, and there's not a lot of lift in that sinking air. So you basically next to nothing as far as on the rainfall probabilities. But where you've got some of that lift and where that northwest flow is, you might get some rain into the Texas Panhandle, across portions around the Red River, but it's mainly going to be highlighted across a good part of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, and through portions of Kentucky into Tennessee and West Virginia. Then there's your bullseye again as you draped across portions of Vermont and New Hampshire back into Maine, portions of Connecticut through Rhode Island. There's also another convection occurring with, those precipitable water content values pretty high across portions of Florida. So you get inundated as well with some very heavy rain in a good part of Florida as well. But man, look at the ridge of high pressure just comes back with a vengeance next week. So by the time we head into the 20th time frame of July, yeah, look at that 600 DM, folks. That's draped across 3 states. I mean, those are some very intense, could be your hottest temperatures of the year, and we could be maxing out on that day. So we've got a 597 draped across Southern California all the way to Mississippi. So all these areas are going to be widespread, likely triple-digit heat under that ridge of high pressure. And then to the north of there, that's where the storm activity is going to be. So if we break down it, by the time we head into Friday, July the 21st, there's the northern periphery of that ridge where any rain probabilities are going to be for Friday, draped across these regions where you see the blues and some of these green shaded areas. It's kind of the same thing on Saturday, folks, as the ridge continues to dominate and expand and deepen. Just as it does, it kind of sucks out the precipitation of the atmosphere and you get less and less rain. So that's what you're going to be finding, I think, as we head towards the end of July, because as we head towards the 23rd, that's typically on average for the entire state, for the entire United States. On average, you see the hottest temperatures. That's when your averages are peaking. That's when your averages are peaking across a good part of the lower 48. And when you see a map like this, when you're already at your peak temperatures, well above average, it's going to be plenty warm. So there's probably going to be numerous records unfolding on that day, as the heat is going to be on full high alert as we head into that July 23rd time frame. And it really doesn't end there, folks. We're going into the heart of the summer, from the 23rd through the August the 15th time frame. That's typically, like I mentioned, those 3 weeks are your hottest 3 weeks on average. And so those are just your average temperature. So when you're starting to see ensemble guidances pushing well above those averages, there's going to be plenty heat on into the lower 48, and that's from the 23rd through the, say, the 28th time frame. That's not going anywhere either. And then as we end July, kind of the same deal, folks. It just expands. So as the ridging really starts to dominate, the Pacific Northwest has been kind of, been lucking out lately, but then the ridge is going to be, really expanding and really lifting further north. So even these areas are going to be starting to see some of those hottest temperatures of the season that they have seen. And that's going to be draped across a good part of the Dakotas. These are going to be shifting. So really the entire lower 48, by the time we head into the end of July, is going to be seeing some pretty intense peak heating. And underneath that might even shut off the rain probabilities for even a good part of the United States by then, as the ridge will be blocked over a good part of the lower 48, as we're going to be feeling the full brunt of a summer by then. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'm also on the new platform Threads as well, so check me out on there and catch me next update while I protect you for and